So, grow your business with Google, an event to skip or attend. G'day, it's Zoe the Video Confidence Coach here with an impromptu video. Yes, this is a bit impromptu because I didn't plan to make this video, which is probably why you can tell I'm not in my usual setting, because right now the studio's over there and it's currently being used, so I can't use it right now for this video. And you can probably tell that I'm wearing my green headdress as opposed to my usual orange, which I use for branding, because again, I didn't plan to make this video, and because this background is mainly used for my live streams, I thought this can work out fine. But the reason why I'm giving you this video today is because you maybe found this video because you like me, or you found it because you Googled grow your business with Google, or grow my business with Google events that's coming near you, or that maybe you've signed up for, or maybe that you've looked at and you're like, oh, I've heard of this event, but I'm not entirely sure about it. So that's what we're going to look at today. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a couple of things of what I learned from this morning. Yes, it's only about an hour and a half ago that I actually attended the event, and I learned a lot about it, and I learned a few things that are even impromptu in my business about Video Confidence Coach. So it's always nice to know that I can learn a few things from events like this. But before we move on, I just want to let you know that this event, from what I can understand, isn't a bog standard event that they bring out to all places. So this may be a thing that you didn't know was a thing, and now you know. And it looks like they work through other organizations, such as for this morning was Xtend and the Geelong Advertiser, which is down near me. But I wanted to give you guys this. Again, this is not a review of the event. I just wanted to let you know what I learned from today and what you can possibly learn for your business as well. So the event itself, the stuff you'll see on screen now, the event itself was run by the help of Google and the new Xtend team. So the speakers we had were Kaisa Qvist. Her name is here, originally from Finland. I think I got her name right. But now she's an Australian resident, so she's one of us now. And also Todd Fisher from Xtend. And there was also Scott Bennett as well from Xtend as well, but he was more running the Kahoots stuff at the end. Kahoots.it is a impromptu quiz game that you can play with an audience, or if you ever have stuff, see on screen for details. So the stuff that we learnt from this morning, there were a lot of good details about what Google is doing, or what is Google prepared to do for small and medium businesses and even large businesses around Australia, and especially in Geelong, because the event was held in Geelong. They talked about the essential media planning for Google businesses, making sure that, or any marketing in general, in my opinion, is making sure that you look at informing your customer, that you have an intent of what you're doing with your advertising, but also the content that you produce, and making sure that you integrate it within your marketing system, schedule, and so forth, which quite rudimentary stuff. And I would say the stuff that I learned today is nothing that's mind-blowing. A couple of the statistics I'll lay down for you in the next bits of this video are probably stuff I didn't know about, but as Kaisa mentioned at the start, all this stuff is available on Google. But the point is, and it's something that I've mentioned to a couple of people I've actually run across lately, is that Google is great to source information. It's all out there available, all scattered everywhere. But the reason that people come to you as experts is, yes, they could go out to Google and find this information for themselves. But the reason you're an expert is because they can just go to you. They can come to your business, they can come to you and find out information directly from you that, adapts to their needs and questions, because you're a person as opposed to a huge multi-million-dollar machine, which Google is, I have to say. But let's not squill on that, shall we? So the aim for Google and Google advertising in particular, or Google for Business, Google My Business, all their little directories underneath, are mainly focusing on micro moments. And I've been to a few Google workshops in the past where they do mention about micro moments, and essentially micro moments are essentially touch points. So moments that you have your customer with, between your brand or your business with you, connecting with the customer, and having those micro moments, or moments where they touch point with your business. And if you're unsure what touch points are, check out our live stream from yesterday, or a couple of videos that we have on the YouTube channel. Another thing that was mentioned is that customers don't operate in independent media silos, as you wouldn't either as a customer or a consumer in this world. You wouldn't either just strictly stick to just YouTube or just Facebook or just Google Select to find things when you're needing to have a problem solved. And so that's the same thing that they mean for you as a business using their services or what have you, is to keep in mind that people aren't automatically going to use one form of media to get their information. They're going to use a whole bunch of information over a period of time to get what the answer that they need and ultimately make a decision. And the one thing that they did mention, though, is search, Google search. So, paying for Google ads, yes, is great, but making sure that you improve your SEO, because search is another form of capture. Capture is making sure you get those leads into your business and bring them in to my precious. And making sure that because you're putting out the awareness, you're creating the content, the blogs, the videos, the podcast, what have you, you're creating all that content. If you're not having at least a little bit of effort or most of your effort into SEO and search, then you're just creating extra advertising for your customers. For your competitors, I should say. I like to prefer to call them collaborators, but you're sending them to people that aren't you just because you're not investing in search. Yes, they are probably saying this because they are Google. They obviously want your money, as most businesses do. But keeping in mind that that's the same thing, that you can improve your SEO organically and achieve the same thing. You're just going to have to invest that time and effort or pay someone else to do it. One statistic that really got me surprised, though, was by 2020, 6.1 billion smartphones will be connected to the internet. So 6.1 billion is the amount of smartphones that will be connected to the internet. And the current global population is 7.7 billion. That is a lot of phones that are connected to the internet. Now, of course, there's a lot of countries that people have multiple phones, one for work, one for their, personal life. A lot of people do have multiple different phones for different things. Multiple different companies have different phones. And of course, there are some not so scrupulous people that have multiple different phones for nefarious reasons, but that's not a fairly large chunk of the population. A lot of people do have multiple smartphones, and that's why we get 6.1 billion worth of people connected to the internet. And one thing that they did mention about your website in particular, because usually your website is one of the portals that people access from Google to your website, is that your website needs to be mobile friendly, so made for mobile, because I don't think they give it a statistics, but my usual statistics to fall on is that 85% of people use, Facebook on mobile. So that's, just keep in mind of the people that are using Facebook on a regular basis. So there's always a good chance that people are going to access your website via mobile as their first port of call, or the way they make decisions for you, or decisions to go with you, I should say. And your website should load in under 3 seconds. And the ways that you can test this, they did spruik a site, testmysite.com, one that they used, recommended a lot. And because it came out with reports, it'll also be helpful for you and your business. So that's one thing that I'm kind of surprised that they did mention, but it worked quite well. And then Kaisa also mentioned about, in the past 10 to 15 years, the paradigm shift has moved from, people wanting to use technology to get their information as opposed to relying on others or other forms of getting their information. And also the next major frontier, there are a lot of frontiers within our technological society, but the next one is machine learning. Yes, Google and a lot of big companies use machine learning, but it's not as ubiquitous in absolutely everything we do. It's getting there, it's very, very close, but I think we've still got a couple of years before that becomes all-encompassing. And because it's machine learning, it's learning from our things. So we have to make sure we treat it right. And then in the past 10 years, video has definitely changed the way that we demand information, or the way that we search for information compared to what they used to do. Another statistic that surprised me was that 40% of people purchase products through YouTube, or they purchase products they found on YouTube. And this was Cisco, and Cisco has a lot of great data sets that they use from. But yeah, it kind of surprised me that it was that low, to tell you the truth. All the people that actually, when they research a product or research a service, I'm surprised that it's only 40%, but I'm sure that will definitely grow over time. And another point Kaisa mentioned was about the best practices of YouTube advertising, because YouTube is part of Google, and Google owns YouTube, and they are essentially like a little baby sibling of, even though they are the biggest video search engine platform out there. The 4 things that she mentioned was making sure that you attract, so get a hook, people bringing into your videos, make sure your branding is natural, seamless, or doesn't distract the viewer from the information that you're giving them, making sure that you connect by holding their attention, and making sure that you are delivering the message quickly and effectively, and then be direct with your call to action. Be like, hey, I've given you some information, click the button, purchase that product, bam. Be nice and clear, because that's essentially what people want. They want it to be nice and clear. They don't need for it to be ambiguous, especially. And also, one thing that they mentioned is make sure you give your value proposition within the first 5 seconds, making sure that it's short, that it's key, that it's short, that it's sweet, that it's fast, and make sure that you make it for mobile. Now, of course, this relates to YouTube advertising in particular, but all these practices do relate heavily to different videos that you're doing. My personal thing that I teach people to do is make sure within the first 10 seconds of your video, now this applies to multiple different platforms and to multiple different types of videos, but make sure in your first 10 seconds you make it nice and clear of what people are going to get out of the video, or give them a hook to draw them in, that type of thing, within the first 10 seconds. Which is why I give that little burst of thing at the start of the video. And then we finished off with Kaisa and started with Todd Fisher. He gave a lot of feedback about Xtend, which I believe is an Australian-wide brand that is the intermediary between, helping you advertise on Google products. Because yes, you could go straight to Google with yourself, and that's no problem. But when you're dealing with, a large company with multiple avenues, multiple products, blah, 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 what have you, having a business like Xtend, again, I haven't used it personally, but they're fairly heavily linked with Geelong Advertiser. They seem to do a pretty good job. Yeah, I can't really say too much about that, but they helped put on the event, so I don't mind. And then they gave me a few details from my own business and what I can use, which was quite helpful. And then they mentioned a few things about voice search. Voice search is currently on trend to be the next way of people searching. So you may have noticed when you Google stuff on your mobile phone, or if you have a Google Home or Amazon Echo or what have you, those products should be about search terms instead. So what I mean by that is that instead of using key particular words when trying to advertise to people or make sure your business is found when someone is typing in, plumbers near me, for example, or plumbers Geelong was the example they actually kept bringing up. Instead of using key particular words, you would use phrases such as, what are the Geelong plumbers near me open right now, for example. That's a very long phrase, but that's what people are using now. Instead of the keywords, they're using longer phrases that people are using because, again, we're using our voices. We're human. We're conversational creatures, and we're able to use those words in that sort of succession, and that's what the search terms are using on, or banking on those search terms becoming great, because again, we're using voice search a lot. And that's the same thing that I'm doing myself. Since my dyslexia can force me to not spell things correctly or not know how to spell something. I know it's a word, but then I look at it and I can't Google if I can't spell it. And then I use the voice feature at least on my computers, on my mobile phone, on my other devices, and then I'm able to spell it without spelling it because I don't know how to spell it, and then Google spells it for me. So that's why voice search has definitely become useful for a lot of people, and that will be growing heavily over time. Pretty steadily over time, I should say. And then most word searches mainly do include the phrases, okay, how to, why should, who can, those type of phrases, a fair chunk of those ones that are being used compared to simple one-off phrases. Like I said, one-off words or keywords. It's now about keyword phrases. And one thing that he did mention was about that our service is not, we're not a service-based business, we're a solutions-based one. And I quite like that, even though it does sound a bit corny now that I actually think about it. But now that we've gone through that, Zoe, what free stuff did you get? Well, I got a Google Partners pen with a stylus at the end, and it becomes a pen, and then it becomes a stylus again. And I gave a spare one to my friend, and she's very happy with it, and she really likes it. And we also got a nice hardcover booklet, Google Partners. So yeah, free stuff. I wasn't expecting anything. It was a free event that they've got my details and what have you. But I quite enjoyed the event. It was quite straightforward. It didn't lag too much in places, and that Kahoots a little quiz at the end was a nice pick-me-up, just to be like, oh yeah, I remember, I'm here now. I'm going to actually pay attention, even though I didn't do too well at it. It reminded me to pay attention to the event and actually win stuff at the end. So I hope that made it nice and clear for you. Grow my business with Google. Events that if you have near you, feel free to comment below if how you went, if they provided any more different pieces of details, any different stats, feel free to comment below and let us know how you went. And if you really enjoyed today's content, feel free to check out our playlists linked below and probably to the side if you're on desktop, and if you're on mobile, they're definitely linked below. You can find the rest of the Video Confidence Coach on the Video Confidence Crew, a Facebook group where we have a whole community of business owners and people like you who want to create video for their business. So why don't you check it out? And I will see you guys later, and hopefully Google doesn't suppress this video because I'm talking about Google. Yeah. Bye guys. Cheers.